That's actually ice on the window. Wasn't expecting that this morning. Yes, I'm on the wrong side of the car. I'm in sunny England. It was just sunny back there, and all of a sudden it's like really misty here. Yeah, I've been in England for a few days. I came over for business stuff, and I went to a conference, and Saturday, I'm going home today, so quite excited. Anyway, I am in an Audi Q2 1.4 TFSI. Now, normally when I come over to England for a few days, I always hire a car, and normally I just go for the cheapest one. And this time there was an option on the website, and it said Lucky Dip. I went, sounds interesting, I'll do Lucky Dip. So I did Lucky Dip, and I got this. To be honest, at first I was a bit like, it's an Audi, I don't like Audis, I really don't like Audis. If you remember, one of the times I came over and I got an Audi A4, and I did a review on that one, and it was just such a boring car, really, really dull. And it's one of the my sort of big pet hates is the fact that, yeah, you know, the Audi R8 is probably really good, and the Audi TRS is really good, but why make the normal cars so crap and so boring to drive? There should be some excitement injected into cars, and I was very disappointed with the A4. And actually, we have the older A4, the previous version, and it's just boring. So when I got this, I thought, I was a bit disappointed. It was an Audi, but I thought it was a bit like interested that it's a Q2. It looks a little bit different for Audi. I wonder how it drives. And actually, it didn't really disappoint. But let's start with the looks. Now, the looks are a little bit, I would say they're a bit like, you either love it or hate it, but it's not really like that. It's not offensive. And the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, it looks quite cool. But actually, the more I see it, the more I go, I'm not sure, it's me. I don't know. I'm not gelling with the look of the car. Some people probably love it, others maybe not. I'm not so keen on these jacked up cars anyway. You know, and in black, I mean, this car is in black, and that's probably not the colour to go for, because it doesn't, you know, it's supposed to be a cool, funky car for younger people like me. Interior, well, it's an Audi. Inside, it's lovely. It's just lovely. The materials are nice. The styling looks really great. It's just a really nice place to be honest. I love these red accents that they've put inside. I think you can change the colour of that. I'm not quite 100% sure on that, but I think you can actually spec a different colour. But they are really cool. I love it. I love everything about the interior. I do love the Audi steering wheels as well. These new steering wheels are great. This one is a really small steering wheel, really nice to hold. It's really good. If I've got one criticism about this interior, it's that there's nowhere to put a phone. If you want to put a phone somewhere, you've got to put it under the armrest here. There is nowhere to put a phone. So you get in the car, you jump in the car, and it's like, there's nowhere to put your phone. Really? In this day and age? Why is there nowhere to put a phone? It's really strange. It has a really good, really easy to use infotainment system. Really like that. I got in, I didn't even have to read a manual or anything. And I love the fact that you should never have to read a manual getting into a car that you don't know. But let's talk about the driving, because as an enthusiast, that's what it's all about. Now, my channel isn't really about reviewing cars. I don't really review cars. Mine's much more about ownership of cars. I like to talk about what it's like to own cars. So, excuse if this review is a bit crap, because this is not what I normally do. But the driving, and this is the bit that, could you live with this car every day? Because what it's going to come down to is how it drives. And it actually drives really well. It does have drive select, so it's got a couple of drive modes, and with the drive modes you can select, let's have a look. In individual mode, I've put it engine dynamic, steering dynamic, which I think is actually, if you just go into dynamic mode, that's what happens. I don't actually know what dynamic engine is. I haven't noticed any difference, whether throttle response or anything. I can't say I've noticed any difference at all. The steering is a lot heavier in dynamic mode, and I actually prefer it heavier. So for me, dynamic mode steering is probably the way to go. Why you would put engine in non-dynamic mode, I'm not sure. I think we'll leave it in dynamic. Dynamic sounds cool anyway. This is where it gets quite interesting with this car, because I was expecting it to be wallowy, I was expecting it to be a bit boring, but actually on a road like this, a bit, you know, back B road, it goes really well. And the steering in particular, it was what sort of got me, because it's like, where it's not woolly, you can actually place the car on the road really accurately. And you can't normally do that in a normal BMW, in a normal Audi. It just doesn't happen. This steering is actually alright. It's actually quite nice. Now let's talk about the engine. And this is one of the things that I think is a problem with the engine. So I get to this junction here, which you can't see on the camera. I try and pull out, I'm in 1,000 revs now. It's like a diesel, a sort of below 2,000, it's like a diesel where you don't get any response at all. There's like this real delay. It's really weird. It's as if, I'm assuming it's the turbo hasn't even been able to spool up yet. So you get this sort of delayed gratification when you press the accelerator. You press it, and eventually it sort of kicks in. Thereafter, it's actually quite a nice engine. It pulls really well from 3,000, here we go. Put the foot down in dynamic mode, of course. And it goes really well. So we've got nice steering. We've got 140, I think it's 148 horsepower from a 1.4. That's pretty good going. And then when you get on some bends, on your favourite road, it's actually relatively fun. This engine also has some nice features actually. It's got a feature where it shuts down half the engine when you're not really putting a lot of load on it. So it shifts from 4 cylinders to 2 cylinders only, and it's supposed to save you more money and fuel, but it's seamless. You don't even know it's happening. So I can't even tell you if it happens or not. You wouldn't notice. If it happens, which I'm assuming it does happen when you're going just very slowly, or off the throttle like now, for example, I think then it goes to 2 cylinders, but it's seamless. You just don't notice anything. The interesting thing about this car as well is that it's got, and I think they've all got it, is this progressive steering. So the more you turn the wheel, the ratio increases. So that's why I think when you're driving a lot, you can sort of hustle it around quite nicely, because you don't have to, there's not a huge amount of movement in the wheel when you're just pressing on. And let's just talk about gearboxes. There's always lots of arguments online about manual versus, dual clutch or automatic. This is a manual version. Obviously you can get a dual clutch version of it. And the dual clutch, the VW, Audi dual clutch gearboxes are brilliant. Obviously you can't go wrong with any of them. They are just excellent. This is a manual version, 6-speed obviously, and I love it. It's a really sort of solid, chunky gear change in an Audi. Who would have thought? It's really nice. I mean, it's just, why would you go for the dual clutch gearbox? It doesn't make any sense. This is a really nice, as somebody who likes driving, and there's always an argument about this, but I think if you like driving, surely you should want to change your own gear. And this gearbox is really nice. And I think that's what's surprising about the whole car, is that I've never been an Audi fan because I've always said, right, they always look a bit dull. They never ever excite. Just if you were to just buy, the average car in the range, it doesn't excite. It doesn't look, the A4 looks like the A6. They all look the same to me. I can't differentiate one from the other. This one looks a bit different. Were they trying too hard? I don't know, but I'm glad it looks a little bit different. I'm glad they've actually made a car that is moderately fun to drive. Okay, it's slightly stiff, so on roads like this you still get the ride is a little bit compromised, because obviously they've gone for a more, I wouldn't say sporting setup, but certainly a firm setup, so it doesn't roll around, it doesn't wallow around. It's actually quite planted, and it's actually quite good. And the steering, this progressive steering is great. Really like the progressive steering. That really helps as well. The brakes absolutely solid. absolutely solid. I always find Audi brakes a little bit sharp at the beginning, so you press them and it's like, oh, you get everything at the beginning. These are a little bit better than normal. Again, no complaints. So it's nice in here, it's nice outside, more or less. It drives nice, the engine is good, it pulls really well, you've got enough speed there, nearly 150 horsepower. Okay, the car's probably a little bit heavier than you would expect, so it's probably not as fast as it should be, but it's still fast enough. So overall, it's a nice car, it's a good car. Well done, Audi. But, there's always a but. Good engineering costs money. And so you're going to pay a bit of a premium with this car compared to, you know, for example, let's say a Tika or Tekka, whatever it's called, or a Nissan Qashqai or something like that. And it's probably slightly smaller in here as well. I mean, in the back of this car, it is quite a narrow car. Actually, we noticed that it's a narrow car. So you're got a little bit less space at the back. Anybody sitting in the middle, if there's three of you at the back, guy in the middle is going to be a bit, guy, girl, whatever. It's going to be a bit squashed. Tough. So there you go. I'm actually enjoying an Audi. And it's not an R8 or something. It's a Q2. Who would have thought? Hope you liked the video. Give a thumbs up if you did. Thumbs down if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't before. And hopefully I will have some videos soon. So catch you very soon. Cheers. Bye.